This is a production of the Gold Arrow Podcast Network. Hello, and welcome to the Gold Arrow Camp POG-Cast, a podcast for friends of Gold Arrow Camp. Throughout the year, we join you to bring your day some of what makes Gold Arrow special. Our goal is to help you have fun, make friends, and grow throughout the year, not just when you're at GAC. Since we can't get together in real life, we gather here, around the virtual campfire. We have some of your favorite parts of morning assembly. We also have interviews with experienced campers and some of your favorite counselors. We think it's a lot of fun, and we're glad you've joined us here on the podcast. This is episode 51, where we're thrilled to have five-year camper and now first-year staffer Swish on the show. Today's episode of the not quite yet award-winning Gold Arrow Camp POG-Cast features Swish. Swish came to camp for 5 years. Her mom was a camp mom. Love you, hoops. And now she's back with us as a photographer. I loved it in this interview when Swish talked about her goals as a photographer, which are primarily to tell a story. I think that parents understandably want to see lots of pictures, but it was really revealing to me to hear her talk about her experience looking at pictures when she got home from camp as a camper and how that colors what she does when she's shooting pictures at camp. But listen, all of this is much better coming from Swish than from me, so here's Swish. Oh, welcome to the podcast, Swish. What's up?
Nothing much. How are you guys?
We're outstanding. We're getting ready for another great year of camp, and we're thrilled because you're on the show, and that makes us happy. For people who maybe don't know you, could you start by kind of telling us who you are and what you do for camp?
I am a photographer for camp. I was a camper for 5 years, and now I am a counselor, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, so you mentioned that this is your 6th year, but it's your first year on staff at camp. What was the biggest kind of surprise to you moving from the camper side of things to the staff side of things?
Definitely that the care that they have for the campers is the same for the counselors. And it just goes down from the love that they have for everyone at camp, and everyone embraces that same mentality of love and fun and just being able to be yourself no matter what.
So when we're talking about like love and fun and being yourself, in your experience, what does that look like in the cabin? Like, how is that, do you think, for kids as campers? Like, how do they experience that?
Definitely being accepted. Like, counselors ask questions and they expect answers from everyone, not just one type of person. Or like, we have people in the cabin that would prefer to read, and then others that would prefer to play card games, and that's okay. Some days they would play card games, some days they would read. So it just depends, and they're all accepted as who they are.
Do you think that some of that acceptance is easier because we're in such kind of close quarters and we're living together and there are no real distractions because we don't have electronics?
For sure. That definitely plays a big role in it. And plus, having counselors that are all different, have different characteristics and traits, like that can play into it. So I know that I was super, like as a child and like in real life, I am quiet and I'm introverted. And when I'm put into a leadership role, I'll be like, extroverted and be extra and be loud. But I relate to those campers as long as like my codes will relate to the people that are more outgoing. But then I'd find relationships in different ways that I can connect with the people that were extroverted. And so that's just really cool.
I agree. I think that you've kind of hit the nail on the head there. So as a photographer, you're working at camp. What was your favorite part of the job?
Surprisingly, it was working at Shaver for 2 weeks, which I didn't think I would. I was like, to be honest, I was against it. I was not sure that I wanted to do it. And then I went out there and I loved it. So that was super cool.
Why did you like being on the island so much? What makes that so special?
I think the connections that I had with the other counselors, and then also it was really cool just being on the boat and seeing a camper continue to try to get something that they really wanted. And then turns out they ended up getting it. So that was super, super neat to see.
Yeah, I think because the island is it's a more distilled thing where you're only really doing kneeboarding, wakeboarding, water skiing, but you're there for a couple of days when you're on the island.
Yeah.
Then you do get to see a progression because it's not like you're out for one program period. You're out 3 or 4 times a day. And so, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You get to see that progression in one kid over like a day, and they can suddenly do something.
For sure. And then working with the people, even the ones that stayed back for what was it? Party Beach.
Uh-huh.
For those people that stayed back, it was also cool to kind of connect with those campers. And if they're reading, like learn what they're reading about, doing bracelets with them, just having everyday conversations about their home life and school and different things that they go through.
It's a super cool program, and I think the island is awesome, and I'm glad we have it.
Yes, for sure.
As a photographer, I think a lot of parents like don't come and see camp. Like Bean, right? I'm married to Bean, and she was a camper for a bunch of years, and her parents never saw camp until she was employed there. For a lot of parents, the only way they experience camp is through the pictures the people in the photography department take. Could you maybe explain a little bit like what your goals are on a day-to-day basis as you're shooting pictures at camp?
I believe one of our bases is definitely to just capture what's happening. We want to tell a story from the beginning of an activity to the end of an activity. So yeah, we want to get your child looking at the camera and smiling, but we also want to get the camper like really focused and really trying to accomplish what they're trying to do. So
do you think when you're taking pictures, is your first thought, oh, this will be good for parents at home? Or is your first thought, oh, this is a good moment of this kid? Or do you not think about either of those things?
I think I don't really think about the parents, to be honest. I'm thinking about like just capturing what's going on. Cause I always remember going home and looking at my pictures that I took at camp.
Mm-hmm.
So when I come back as a camper, I'd be like, oh my gosh, wait, let me tell you what happened when this happened. Mom and Dad, look, this is what exactly happened. And this is what I was doing. So I'm trying to capture those times where they can go back in a few years and be like, oh, I was doing this. And Mom, you would have seen it if the photographer could have stayed a little bit longer. I went all the way up to the top of the high ropes.
Sure.
And I accomplished that goal.
So your mindset is almost that the pictures are better once the campers are home.
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Okay.
They can interpret what was going on in that activity and what their counselors and campers were all doing together.
Yeah, it's I think when you're looking at pictures with your camper, what you're getting is that's the starting point for what happened to them. Whereas when I'm looking at home and my kids at camp, like that's the whole thing and I have to make up the whole story, which is a very different thing.
Yeah.
What was your favorite camp memory this year?
I would say session 1. Wait, I have too many. I don't know.
Give me like a top 5 then.
Okay. Session 2, dance.
Okay.
Session 1, just my cabin was just the best. Session 3, the cabin was awesome. My co's were awesome. But there was just something about session 1 and just that excitement to kind of like really get things rolling and being comfortable, finding my groove as the counselor. Let's see. I was not forced, but I was told that it was time for me to get on the high ropes. So getting up there and doing the high ropes with my session 3 campers was pretty cool.
So we challenged by choice you to the top of the high ropes course?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
All right. So you were a former camper, like you were a camper for 5 years. So I think you probably have some good insight here. Like, since you've now worked on the counselor side as well, what is it that counselors can do that, like little things perhaps, that have a really big impact on campers? So
the thing that I was shocked about was when I was a camper, one of my favorite things was the counselors coming on saying good night, doing the high five or hug. And I did not know that was something that was like, you guys should do this. And so that was super cool for me. I really think that I did hand hugs because some people, they don't want to hug. Some people high five is not as much. So I kind of did hand hug, high five. Or hug, so I think that was super neat. That's something little that they can do, just kind of tuck them in to say goodnight. And then in the morning, waking up like, come on guys, you guys got it. We're going to breakfast, and kind of just starting the energy off with good vibes so they can go into the rest of the day being excited. And then, also if campers, when you walk by them, say their name, say, hi, how are you? Not just walk by and act like you don't know anybody.
Yeah, I think the good night thing is something that I think you've really hit the nail on the head, because it is one of those things that for campers, it should feel totally natural. And when you guys, those of you who come back as staff members, you're like, oh, that was on purpose. It's like, yeah, we're doing a lot of things behind the scenes that are totally intentional to make this experience really good. And if we do it well, it seems natural and it seems like, oh yeah, that's what it should be. And I think it's important to note, like, it's something that counselors enjoy. Like, I don't think any counselor is like dreading the good nights, but
For sure.
saying to all counselors, hey, it's important that you do this, then puts it in their brains. So then we're building kind of that scaffold so that the counselors are providing a great experience to campers.
Yes, and I believe because we would even wait to go shower until it was lights out and we were able to say good night to everybody. So
yeah,
that's cool.
All right, Swish, it's time for the speed round. 5 questions we ask absolutely everybody who comes on the podcast. Here they come. What's your favorite camp song?
The Penguin song.
Good choice. What's your favorite item on the salad bar?
The carrots.
Oh, a classic. What's your favorite lip balm flavor?
From last year, Vava Vanilla. Or 2 years ago.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Around the campfire at night, mallows or popcorn?
Mallows.
As though there was any question. Solidly done. And finally, Swish, what's your real name?
Oh, my real
Oh,
name
I'm so sorry. We're all out of time. We'll get that the next time you're on the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on, Swish.
Thank you. You guys have a great year. Can't wait to see you guys back.
Joke of the cast, joke of the cast. 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 Joke of the cast. Do you guys know what they call a belt made out of watches? A waste of time. Oh, I like that one. At camp, we love making friends, but we know it's harder to make friends at home. That's why we bring you this, the Friendship Tip of the Week. This week in the Friendship Tip of the Week, we're actually shifting gears and we're moving into a new category of friendship tips. Now we're talking about staying in touch. So right now, think of a friend you haven't seen in a while. Maybe somebody you haven't seen since camp. All right. Got that person in your head? Now, send them some snail mail, maybe a card. Or, better yet, call them on the phone and have a conversation. Everybody loves a surprise call from their friends. This week's GACspiration comes to us from the author J.R.R. Tolkien's character Gandalf the Grey, who once told some small hobbits that I have found it is the small everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keep the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love. Well, that does it. That's another episode of the Gold Arrow Camp podcast in the books. Thank you for listening. As always, if you like the podcast, please share it with somebody. You can find us wherever you find podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, YouTube. Just go looking for us. We're everywhere. Share it with somebody. Thanks also to Cheerio for writing our kindness tips as well as creating the kindness calendar that's on our website, goldarrowcamp.com. Special thanks to Swish for coming on the show and sharing her experiences as both a camper and a counselor. As always, if you have any suggestions for the podcast, feel free to share those by emailing us WOW at goldarrowcamp.com. As always, I'm Soy and I'll save a marshmallow for you.